Водная дипломатия между Казахстаном и Нидерландами – еще одно направление сотрудничества. Это и управление водными ресурсами, и технологии прогнозирования паводков. Но надо сказать, что точек роста и взаимодействия между нами на сегодня много. В сферах АПК, образования, медицины, биохимии, информационных технологий, транспорта и логистики, возобновляемых источников энергии. Узнаем из первых уст, каким видится дальнейшее сотрудничество между Амстердамом и Астаной. Сегодня мой собеседник – чрезвычайный полномочный посол Королевства Нидерландов в Казахстане господин Нико Схермерс. Я Лаура Жакупова, это «Точка роста». Здравствуйте. Добрый день, уважаемые зрители! Сегодня мы находимся в посольстве Королевства Нидерландов, и я с удовольствием вам представляю нашего сегодняшнего спикера. Господин посол, я рада вас видеть. Вот вы, как представитель Нидерландов, всегда на всех фото и видео находитесь в оранжевом галстуке. Это с чем-то связано? Это что-то означает?
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here and to talk to you about the Netherlands. Yeah, the orange tie is something that I started to wear when I was still in my previous posting in Armenia as ambassador. I had to open an embassy and the Netherlands was not well known in the country. And then I realized that by wearing a tie that is very visible in the colors of our national royal household, I can become visible and the Netherlands can become visible in the country. And when I arrived in Astana, I also started to do that and very quickly realized that it's a trademark. Last week I was in Uzbekistan and people recognized me because of the orange tie. They didn't know who I was, but because of the orange tie, people know how to find me. And that is why I do this. It's something to make the Netherlands visible in Central Asia, in Kazakhstan. And of course, I do that with great pride because of the colors are linked to our king, to our royal household.
Теперь понятна история происхождения этого цвета как образец вот такой вот дипломатии со стороны Нидерландов. Но если мы перейдем уже на такие вопросы, скажем, к таким темам более внутренним, год назад обе наши страны подписали 9 коммерческих соглашений, которые нацелены на развитие двусторонних отношений. Это и сфера логистики, сфера транспорта, медицина, в том числе агропромышленный комплекс, сельское хозяйство. Что сегодня сделано в этом направлении? Как вы можете оценить действительно уже выхлоп от этих двусторонних отношений? И, может быть, какие-то есть реальные примеры?
Yes, well, thank you very much for this question. Last year, then Prime Minister Mark Rutte was here to visit Kazakhstan to have meetings with the president and many other institutions. He was here to open the Amsterdam Square in Astana, but he was also here to witness a number of MOUs to be signed between the Dutch private sector and Kazakh businesses. Indeed, in various areas this was done, in particular in the field of healthcare, where Philips Medical Systems signed some MOUs and is working indeed very hard to formulate a roadmap to implement this MOU together with Kazakhstan. And at the same time, we had Spectator healthcare systems, also coming from the Netherlands. They are working in telemedicine, so making it possible to do some diagnostics in remote areas, in Kizilorda area. So that is also in implementation. And what I also would like to mention is that in the context of this visit of the Prime Minister, we also signed MOUs in the field of water management because of the floods in Kazakhstan in those days last year. And that has led to a tremendous cooperation between our two countries in disaster management, in flood management, but also in the region in Central Asia. We're working together with the 5 countries in water diplomacy to make sure that we can bring the best capacity, the best knowledge to your countries to manage all these challenges. The last thing I would like to mention is that as we speak, we have a delegation of agriculture in the country. A high level, the Vice Minister of the Netherlands is here to, for the second time actually, for structured dialogue with the Kazakh authorities on cooperation in the field of agriculture. And he is here together with both an educational mission to work on also agricultural education, because that is important for the entire chain of agriculture. And he brought 40 Dutch companies in the field of flora, flowers and greenhouses. With all the technology around it, and we see a lot of potential in Kazakhstan, and we think that we have the knowledge to make sure that Kazakhstan can get the best out of that. So that is, I think, all in the context of this follow-up of the MOUs of last year. And there's probably even more that we are not aware of.
Я очень надеюсь, что экспертизы Нидерландов, которые уже действительно объясняются большим опытом в сельском хозяйстве, будут полезны для наших агрономов в том числе, потому что сельское хозяйство для Казахстана – это база, я считаю, экономического развития, и поэтому надеюсь, что действительно будет большая польза. Как вы оцениваете на сегодняшний день, aujourd'hui, отношения между Нидерландами и Казахстаном в сфере инвестиционного развития? Сколько соглашений, может быть, есть какая-то цифра у вас на сегодня, инвестиций уже вложено в экономику?
Thank you for that question. And indeed, the Netherlands is by far the biggest foreign direct investor in Kazakhstan, bigger than the numbers 2 and 3 on that list combined. And we still hope that we can continue that level in the years to come. At the moment, I think that investments are stagnating a little bit because of all the uncertainties in the world. At the same time, I'm pretty sure that Dutch investors will keep on finding their way to Kazakhstan because, as I mentioned before, there is a huge potential in many areas. In the field of critical raw materials, the Netherlands conducted a market study recently, so we think that some of our companies might be interested in exploring possibilities in that field in Kazakhstan. I mentioned agriculture and water already. And of course, oil and gas is also still an area where many investments take place, done under the Dutch-Kazakh bilateral investment treaty. So many companies, also suppliers, consultants, etc., are working in that domain. And logistics is then, of course, another area where the Netherlands had a trade mission last year to see the possibilities in Aktau and Kurik ports, to see what possibilities we have in supporting Kazakhstan in developing its logistics in that sense.
Вот из этих регионов какой самый привлекательный для вас для вложения инвестиций?
I think that is a difficult question to ask because Kazakhstan is so big that it depends a little bit on the field of expertise, the niche where companies are working in. If you look at oil and gas, then it's obviously in Western Kazakhstan where many of the operations take place, and all the companies around the big operators are also located in these areas. But you see that also the water sector is focused on that area on the one hand, but is also looking to other parts of Kazakhstan already. And agriculture is, of course, a much different part of Kazakhstan that is partly in the south, but also in the north, depending on the crop you're growing. And because of the enormous size of your country, and I mentioned that also to the deputy minister yesterday, your smallest province is still 5 times as big as the Netherlands. So that gives an indication how big we're looking at what scale we're looking at. And that means that, for every company it's different. So looking for instance, at tourism, another area that might grow, then people look to partly the west of Kazakhstan, but also certainly to southeast Kazakhstan, and maybe also to Altai in the northeast. So it totally depends. Not necessarily at this stage, but what I always notice is that Dutch tourists are quite exploratory. So they like to go to markets that are not yet well known. And I'm informed that to Central Asia, the number of tourists over the past year was something like 2.5 times as many as the year before. And that might still be partly because of COVID effects. At the same time, I think that there is a huge potential in Central Asia as a region to attract Dutch tourists and to explore also the beauties of Kazakhstan.
Сейчас все шумят в Казахстане будущим приездом Дженнифер Лопес о том, что это тоже принесет какой-то доход от туризма. Может быть, и в Нидерландах очень много артистов, и кто знает, да, возможно, в будущем Нидерланды нам тоже позволят насладиться и также привлечь туристов с других стран каким-то творчеством.
That is certainly possible. What we are aiming at is to celebrate this year 2 big King's Days, both in Astana and Almaty, but also one in Attirau, to show that the Netherlands is in contact with Kazakhstan, that we have a lot to offer to Kazakhstan, and we hope that Kazakhstan has a lot to offer to us, so that we can both benefit of a more strong relation, and that is what we want to demonstrate from the side of the embassy.
На сегодня, как вы можете оценить положение, авторитетность и влияние Королевства Нидерландов, возможно, с точки зрения экономических, опять же, вложений, каких-то еще других направлений на территории Центральной Азии? Вот недавно прошел саммит Центральная Азия, Европейский Союз. Может быть, на фоне этого тоже мероприятия есть какие-то новые проекты?
I think the role of the Netherlands is coming to basically in 2 tracks. First of all, there's a bilateral track, and that is where we as an embassy play an important role. We are representing the Netherlands in 5 Central Asian countries, so we cover that from Astana. And that is where I see quite a surge in the dynamics between our country, the Netherlands, and the 5 countries in the region, in particular with Kazakhstan itself, but also with Uzbekistan. And I think that the dynamics in the region are the engine of all that, because you are cooperating more closer with each other as 5 Central Asian countries. You make yourself more attractive to the rest of the world and to countries like the Netherlands. For investors in the Netherlands, it's much more attractive to not only go to Kazakhstan, but to go to Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, or to go to Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. You can explore more markets in one go. And so if the cooperation within the region is better, then it will be more attractive to the outside world. The second track is through the EU. The EU in the Netherlands is one of the founders of the EU, and many of our policies are also formed through the EU. We have an influence on that. In Brussels, we discuss together what the EU should do in the relationship with Central Asia, and the Netherlands has a voice in that. So our interests are also translated through the EU policies in that regard. And that is then seen in the culmination of such a summit as we had last week in Samarkand, where the EU and Central Asia as a whole are discussing topics on security, economics, human rights, the climate, etc. And that is, I think, a very important step forwards.
Я думаю, что Нидерланды – это сегодня такой мост опыта и профессионализма по налаживанию двусторонних связей вообще с развивающимися странами. Господин посол, сегодня мы очень активно говорим о развитии креативной экономики в Казахстане. Для нас это действительно интересный и опыт будущий. Вы уже с опытом как представитель страны Нидерландов и человек, который находитесь в Казахстане не первый год, довольно наблюдательно все оцениваете. Как вы можете характеризовать, в чем наши сильные стороны в отношении креатива, что мы можем продвинуть на мировой арене?
Thank you. Well, I think I was very much inspired by the Nomad Games in that regard, because that really was a brand of Kazakhstan. You showcased there that you have traditions in Kazakhstan that are unique in the world. And that is something that you can use in many of the other creative industries in your country and worldwide. On top of that, I think the IT sector is something where Kazakhstan is heavily investing in. And I think that is an area where we all find each other. I have had meetings with several institutions in that regard in Kazakhstan, and I hope that we can also cooperate with Kazakhstan, in particular the IT sector, because that is the future. We are working, or anyone is working with IT nowadays. We can't do without anymore. So if we can join hands in that regard, that would be to our joint, how do you say that, our joint benefit.
Где вы любите проводить время со своими близкими и почему выбираете эти места?
Unfortunately, I don't have that much free time, but I like to take the time I have. I spend a lot of time in Central Asia traveling because of my work. In that regard, I also try to combine that always a little bit with free time to take my wife, my kids to see something of Central Asia. In summertime, we like to travel by car. And last summer we drove first to Bishkek and then to the east side of Kazakhstan to explore your country and the enormous varieties of nature you have. This time we're planning to go to Altai and to see the northeast of Kazakhstan. And we do that by car so that we can really see all the different landscapes, to spend a lot of time on the road but see the landscape changing. And we have many more plans for the years to come to drive a lot of kilometers in your beautiful country.
А что-то ближе к Астане есть для комфортного вашего отдыха и, может быть, рядом с городом?
We prefer always nature. So whenever we have the opportunity, we go out of the city. Out of cities in general, because cities have a lot of culture usually, of course, so that is nice to explore, especially in wintertime. But in summertime, when the weather allows, then let's go into nature and see something of your beautiful mountains or plains or animals and enjoy that.
Я благодарю вас за интервью, за время, которое вы уделили нам сегодня. Желаю успехов